So I talk about the ego, and in the ego, I was able to point at one fact, which is the identity. The cocks are, disturbing, but don't mind them. They are also living their life because it's on the farm, so everybody is doing his or her thing or its things. So please just pay attention to the words. So I talk about the ego and I point at the identity. Yes, this identity is something that brings a lot of harm to us, because before the ego can come in place, it is the identity that we always look at, or it is the identity that give us this kind of authority. That is why we are able to become so much, or begin to fill with so much of the physical ego, or the ego that drives us into so many things that we wish has never happened. So what is this identity? To me, this identity is just the kind of mindset, or the kind of idea people have about you, or people always put on you, or people feel that this is the kind of person you are. For example, when I look at myself, or when people look at me in the society, they see me to be this kind of young, small boy who actually doesn't really know anything about life. So each and every day, people are trying to tell me how to live my life, or how to do this, and they always see me to be the one who does a lot of mistakes, and who is not good to take decisions. So this kind of identity, or this kind of idea has been stuck in most of my friends and family minds. So whenever something happens, they bring this identity in, and they try to judge me from this identity. And just recently, my mom did the same thing, and I wouldn't blame her, because that is the way they were all brought up. So this identity about me has been so much disturbing, because a lot of people think I'm just that small boy who doesn't know anything about life. So whenever I'm doing something and I'm taking decision which is from the point of the soul, that the physical mind or the normal mind cannot understand it, they bring in this identity and they judge me, and they put me in a state whereby it feels like I don't really know anything about whatever I'm doing as a life that I'm living. So this identity is something that a lot of people have put in place. Some people have also put this identity in place for themselves. They have made people become aware, or become so much understand them, that they are this, they are that, or they are this, they are this kind of people, and so we go around displaying this kind of identity in front of people. Let's take, for example, I met a friend of mine who is filled with so much fear in the inside, and who is filled with so much doubt in the inside. But whenever he comes out to society, he portrays this kind of life that he's okay, everything is fine, and he has everything in motion, or he's the one who is in charge of everything. And so people see him to be, yes, this guy knows everything, this guy is this, but deep in the inside, he's filled with so much fear. And whenever I talk with him, or I have these conversations with him, I realize that he's afraid of life so much that he doesn't even want to take any step about life. He just wants to be okay with what he has been given, or okay with the normal life. But he wants a change, but this change is also not coming. But the identity he has given himself, and he has given to people around him, has made him not to be able to go out of this identity range, to be able to do what he wants to do, or be what he wants to be. So same applies to when it comes to name that we are given. It is an identity that has been put in on us from the beginning. So whenever people see you, people tag you to be John. So you are John, and people tag you to be you are Ophelia. So it's like Ophelia, this is how Ophelia is. Ophelia is this, Ophelia is that, or Ophelia has this kind of character, or this and that. So it's that kind of identity has been placed on us for so long, and it seems this identity is what people look at first. People don't look at our real self or what actually we consist of in the inside. They look at the identity first, and when they look at this identity, they judge us from the point of the identity, and it gives them that kind of mindset that this is actually who you are. You can't be able to change. There is nothing that can be different about you, or there is nothing that is big or different about you any longer, but you are with just this identity. So even the names that we are giving brings a lot of identity on us, and brings a lot of this identity on us. And when this identity becomes we will realize this identity, and we become so proud of these identities, the ego steps in, because now the self-importance of us has been able to realize that, okay, this is the identity I have portrayed out, and a lot of people have been able to know this identity for me, so I need to continue to display this identity, or this is the identity I know about this person, so there is no way there is going to be a change, or there is a different person. So these kind of things are things that brings a lot of problems, or brings a lot of situations in our life, because we are now living from the point of the identity and the ego, and we don't want to stop living from that point, because we feel like when we stop living from that point, people can't be able to realize us any longer, or they can't be able to like that kind of a personality of us any longer. So the identity is something we love so much. We cherish it so much. We don't really like to portray our real self outside them, because the real self is living from the point of the soul, or living from your soul essence, because that is where your real self is. That is where you have no identity, because when you were birthed, you were given name as, like, say, Ophelia, or given name as Ben, or given name as Emmanuel. But what actually can give us that kind of a specification that your soul, which is inside you, is really called Emmanuel, is really called Ben, but we can be able to realize that. But the identity that we give to the person from the childhood, the person begins to create that kind of identity from childhood, or begin to live by that identity from childhood. And whenever you do something different, it's like, no, this is not the Ophelia I know, and this is not the Emmanuel I know, because it's like they just want you to live in that identity. You don't have to portray your real self. You don't have to bring your real self out. And when we go deeper into society, we can realize that most of us have the real self inside us, and this real self is actually what matters the most. And we find it difficult to bring it out. So we find it difficult to be able to live it out, because it's like we don't want to damage the identity that we are giving. But the real self which is in us is different altogether. You might be calm in the outside, but your real self in you, it might be as loud as anything. But you don't want to damage the identity, so you keep on holding onto the identity. So we must be careful with all these things, or they are things that when we begin to become conscious or aware, or when we begin to live from the point of the soul, we need to realize all these things. We need to put all these things to bed, and be able to identify our real self, or live from the point of our real self, which is the soul, that in such a way that whatever people think or whatever people might say about you don't really matters to you any longer, but your real self is what really matters to you. Because when you put your real self in motion, or you put your real self out, the people might not like it, but you will love it. You, the individual, you will love it, because now you can be able to live freely. You can be able to live without being worried, or without being giving any tag on you that this, that, or this, but you will be able to live free like a bird, because you have now known like yourself, and you are have accepted it and you are now aware or conscious of it, and you are using it for your own good, not for anybody's good. Because actually on the road, the life, you are not living it for anybody else to be able to be the judger of it, or to anybody to be able to see that it is good or it is bad or it is helpful, but you are actually doing it for yourself. It's a game you are playing, and you need to play it right for yourself. So get aware and conscious of this ID and this ego stuff, so that you can be able to put it to bed once and for all. Thank you very much.